Hello, and welcome back to Answers Nobody Intended Me to Explain. I am Grinchler, and with me is the finned wonder, Whooper.
Whooper doesn't have any fins. Hi, everybody.
He has a tail fin.
Hope you had a great week. That's just a tail.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, I guess it's a fin. He definitely doesn't have arms.
Yes.
Though it can learn Ice Punch.
Does it just hit it with its head?
I don't know.
Is that considered a punch?
That's considered a headbutt, which it can also learn.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it looks like it has 2 feet, but actually it's 1 foot and then a hand that happens to be on the bottom of his body. So he punches with the right foot and he kicks with the left.
Maybe. Or maybe Pokemon is just really dumb and allows you to teach technical machines to Pokemon that should not be able to learn them.
Yes, that's much more accurate. Speaking of accuracy, drawings in cartoons.
Yeah. You always love it when they're accurate, when they're on model. How'd you feel about the modeling in the last episode of Mob Psycho 100?
Well, I mean, if we get the big, huge fight scene throwing buildings and stuff at each other, it looked great, as I think everyone kind of expects at this point, because the show has always looked good and the fights have always been incredible. But just like I predicted, it would be half fight and then half here is what happened.
Wasn't that me who predicted that?
It was me like 2 episodes ago.
Okay.
We might have both said it. But yeah, I liked the episode. I don't know too much about if I like show's dad being like redeemed, quote unquote, at the end of it. I don't know if I really agree with that. But I didn't write the story, so I don't get to,
you do
decide.
get to think about it, form your own conclusions about it, and then criticize it on the internet for an audience of less than 10 people. It sounds like you have some issues with it.
Yeah, I do. I wanted Mob's character to actually like kill him.
Why? Mob's not going to do that.
Right, but that would be character development for Mob.
No.
Or at least an evolution of his character. Some people are beyond redeeming.
Yeah, but didn't we talk about it the other day? Like he's going to take away his powers. That was what I've been thinking. Because we learn in episode like 11 or 12, one of those, that Toichiro has the ability to give his powers to other people. And then we learned that Mob has a similar ability because he gives some of his power to Sho. In whatever episode that was.
Well, Mob can do everything.
Yeah, well, so can Toichiro.
He can heal people. He can make plants grow. He can give people his power, and apparently he can transfer power into seeds.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking about the big broccoli.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the same as him growing plants, like rapidly accelerating cellular development, which we saw him do with a little potted plant in Reagan's office at the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
We saw him do it against the Scarecrow monster in the first episode of this season.
Yeah, and Mob's done it before, and they tasted the food, and it was awful.
Oh yeah, I remember that. No, there's no way Mob would kill him, because the show has just gone full like.
He almost does.
Yeah, but he doesn't. It was never a question. That's the whole thing about Mob, is like he's so virtuous. Despite the fact that he has this godlike power, he's like a thoroughly virtuous character. He wants to improve himself on his own terms, and he wants to develop relationships with people, friendships. He doesn't give up or blame, his family or his classmates or anything like that for any misfortunes that befall him or any negative emotions that he feels. He's just like a really good guy.
A kindred spirit.
To who?
To all.
Indeed.
To everyone who is graced by his presence.
And yeah, pretty much. I mean, he volunteers to be Serizawa's friend to remove him from his his dark neatness.
And now Serizawa is
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the whole episode.
Yes, me too.
Serizawa becoming, like, even more than the gigantic fight. Because honestly, the fight to me was just like, all right, they're the two most powerful guys. They're throwing buildings at each other and big rocks. I've seen this, dozens of times before.
Yeah, but it looks really good.
Honestly, I think the fight against the teleporter in whatever episode that was, 11, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just blew everything else away from this season. The wild perspective changes, and like freakishly difficult to animate cuts of like the camera zooming alongside buildings and stuff. That put this to shame. This was just like, a
bunch of squares moving around.
Well, yeah, that's what animation is, a bunch of shapes moving around. So it's fine if they're squares, circles, or whatever they are. But in this one, sure, it was technically impressive. The series as a whole is technically impressive. But I feel like this one relied a lot on mood. Like, it's the two most powerful guys. And we get cuts to the members of Claw on the ground who are like, this defies all human reasoning and logic, saying stuff like that. Like, this is Dragon Ball Z tier. And at one point, Toichiro says, "You're just like me. You just want to go wild with your powers." Blah, blah, blah.
And Mob's like, "I'll show you power."
No, when that happened, I was like, stop. Already twice in the previous episode, we got a "you're just like me" scene. Now we have another one. I don't have time for that. But I'm literally the woman who doesn't have time for that.
I ain't nobody got time for that.
With regards to people saying you're just like me in shonen fights. So I mean, the fight was fine, but it was more about the fact that it was, the end boss, the two strongest dudes, the red clouds in the sky and them floating far above everybody else. I don't think it was as impressive as stuff that we've seen previously.
Yeah, it was definitely
JMO.
Well, when you deal with power of that, quote unquote, power of that scale, fights aren't small and condensed. They're city destroying.
Yeah, this one was that. They keep throwing each other into the ground and craters, form. Yeah. Dust kicks up. There are big explosions. But then he does.
At one point, he hits him with an open palm down into earth, and there's a palm print that's like 100 feet wide that gets crushed into the earth.
Oh,
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
The part where they both go underwater, and then one of them rushes at the other, which creates such the movement of their body is so fast that it disperses the water and becomes dry land again.
Yeah, weren't you talking last week about a similar thing in One Punch Man where he punches so hard that the rain
stops?
Yeah, you seem to really enjoy that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's something very much Japanese inspired, Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
There's a scene where one of the robots detonates a huge nuclear bomb under the ocean. And so the blast wave just disperses all of the water. You start to see fish falling, and they're standing on essentially like a lake bed. And then they look up and the water just slams back down on top of them. I like when water is dispersed by wind or by force or whatever.
Or punches.
Because you think of water in the ocean as this unstoppable force, and then something comes along that pushes it out of the way. And I just think that's really cool. As well as water's really hard to do.
To animate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's
I thought that was impressive.
Let's talk more about Toichiro. All the stuff with how'd you feel about all the stuff with his wife, like the flashbacks to his wife criticizing his view of power being absolute, and then her leaving, and he was disappointed that his son would never be able to see his mother again, but then he reveals that he still visits with her. And
you take this villain that you've built up over the course of 4 episodes.
At least.
Yeah. You've known he's exist, and then you finally see him, and he's this evil person, and then in the last 4 minutes or so of this fight, and then a little bit afterwards, they're like, "Hey, we got to redeem this villain somehow. What do we do?" His wife left him. Yes.
I don't feel as though there was an effort made to absolve him of all, guilt or wrongdoing or anything. He's still got the shackles around his.
But he
his arms
puts
and
his head
stuff.
down in shame. And he's like, "I'm so sorry."
Does he say I'm so sorry?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
It's like he either says I'm sorry or like I'm ashamed or regretful or something. But he, apologizes, and then Show says to him, "You haven't really had it until Mom comes and yells at you." And I'm just like, no.
That was something that I had a problem with, him being like, "You're gonna get an earful from your wife, from my mom."
Ex-wife.
Yeah, as though that's gonna do anything for his character at all. I mean, he's a raging psychopath, an egomaniac.
Well, he isn't anymore. Mob removed all of his powers.
Yeah, we
don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, we don't. I am assuming that something along those lines happened.
Well, he redirected all the energy that was going to go out into a giant piece of broccoli.
Right. I kind of doubt that his powers are gone, because the weird handcuff things that he had were some sort of, they look like slime, like some goopy material that's intended to like repress supernatural powers.
Yeah, it definitely didn't look anything normal. That's for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know if his powers have been taken away. I mean, that's how I assumed that Mob would defeat him, would be to strip him of his powers, and then that would be like the ultimate curse for someone like Toichiro, who is
pulling the last airbender there.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Toichiro is so fixated on his own strength, like he's so proud of the fact that he's the strongest man on Earth.
But Avatar didn't try to redeem Ozai.
No, but it did have several extremely like vomit-inducing jokes from Sokka and Toph right there on the rock where Ozai is like sitting powerless.
Yeah.
Something about the Melon Lord or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They were 12.
Mob is 12-ish.
It's true.
He's probably more like 13 or 14. Because middle school goes up 1 year higher in Japan than it does, at least in this part of the United States. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't totally satisfied with the fight with Toichiro. Like right when he's about to explode, which would be his comeuppance. Like he's literally devoured by his own power. He's destroyed by his own explosive ability. That's when Mob, in the process of kind of taking on that energy and that power into himself, he sees these visions of Toichiro. Like that's when we see that his wife left him and all that stuff.
Right.
And so then Mob says something like, "I too have someone to whom I need to confess my feelings," and that's part of what prompts him to explode into, for the seeds to become broccoli. But we don't see him talk to Tsubomi, the girl that he has a crush on. I guess that's going to be reserved for the OVA or something.
Season 3.
There's an OVA coming out that was officially announced, and season 3 is. I don't know. The thing about this project is that it's so labor intensive and so time intensive. I assume on Bones' part, it will. I mean, Mob's been riding a real hype wave in the second season, especially. So I imagine that a third season will come at some point, but probably not for like a couple years.
Right.
But I thought it was kind of anticlimactic that he didn't talk to Tsubomi after that being part of like something that he resolved, I guess, in the process of defeating Toichiro, like taking that energy and redirecting it. That being what defeats him ultimately. We didn't see him talk to what's her face.
Nope.
So that's that's fine though, I guess. If it comes later, that's cool.
Yeah, I'd say so. Don't know if there's too much else to talk about for this episode.
I mean, we already talked about it a little bit, but Serizawa he's the best. His character is actually kind of interesting, and
the claw guys had their scars healed.
Yeah, that was curious. I mean, scars are supposed to be wounds that remain. That's what scars are. But
maybe it's just a symbol of, shows dad not having his power anymore.
Maybe, yeah.
By the way, what's his name? Because I just keep saying shows dad.
Toichiro.
Toichiro.
I've been saying it.
Yeah. I just haven't picked up on that yet.
Well, it's too late now. This is the last episode.
Yeah, it is. Tune in next time when I get the name correct when an OVA or another season comes out.
Yeah, I liked the resolution of Serizawa's story a lot more than Toichiro's. Like, it feels like the end of an arc, of him taking his true first step into broader society, rather than being kind of controlled by someone and having to carry that umbrella, which is the symbol of that control.
Yeah.
Instead, he cuts his hair, gets a shave, and gets a job like a normal friend,
like a normo.
Yeah. But good for him. If it's he seems to be eager, kind of excited to do it.
What do I do with a new client?
How do I make tea?
Well, what did you used to do? If somebody had any unpleasant feelings toward my master, I would hit them with my umbrella. Well, things aren't that different around here.
Yeah, that was a very good line from Reagan. That feels like something that he would just accept and go with the flow.
Yeah.
I thought this finale was pretty good. My feelings about Mob, I think I've made clear over the last 12, 13 weeks about the mode that I prefer its storytelling to be in.
Less Kamehameha, more school time, fun time.
Yeah. But that's
more slice of life, less One Punch Man.
Yeah, but this finale was fine.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the show?
You rate
8 out of 8?
I rate 8 of 8. Great mate.
All right, well, cool. Let's move on, I guess. How we doing on time?
Speaking of other things with ratings, television shows. And Kaguya is one of those.
Nice.
I thought so. Pretty smooth.
This was the finale of Kaguya-sama as well, episode 12 out of 12. And it resolves the I Can't Hear the Fireworks set of chapters.
Yeah.
The first of which was like the post-credit scene from the previous episode. So this one finishes it up. So what did you think of it? It wasn't just I Can't Hear the Fireworks part 2. though. There was more to it. So how did you feel about the episode overall?
Both halves, or
I
guess they are kind of. So I preferred the first half to the second half just because I liked the tone of the first half, because the show for most of the time has been, zany and wacky because it's supposed to be. It's comedy.
Yeah, and I feel like it's gotten zanier and wackier as the season has gone on.
I think
maybe that's just me, but
it does. But there's without really good writing, like outstanding writing, keeping stuff at the same level of absurdity and still having it be funny every week. It's different. It's difficult, especially when you have 3 stories every week to do. I know they're just following chapters, but what one of these like 6 to 8 minute segments is like a whole self-contained story would have been a 22-minute episode of Seinfeld.
No, that's not true, because
Seinfeld has like 4 or 5 plots at once.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good point. I played myself.
Yeah, there's not a lot of parallels you can draw between American sitcoms and
Japanese
animated
sitcoms,
animated comedies.
Yeah,
they're different.
But I really liked the first half.
I Can't Hear the Fireworks part 2.
Yeah, just I wrote her name down this time.
Ayasaka.
Yeah, Ayasaka trying to get Kaguya to just be like, go do it. Just
leave.
Do what you want to do.
Screw the rules. You have money.
Screw the rules. I have green hair. Whoa, I gotta lay off the drugs.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways. But
yes, Hayasaka encourages her to leave.
Hayasaka doesn't just encourage her to leave. She already has an entire plan set up to have her be able to leave.
Do you think that she was in contact with the Ramen Kings? Because you remember the segment from last week with the Ramen King?
I don't think so. I think that guy just happened to be out. Maybe she like summoned a taxi.
Yeah. The plan that you're talking about was her dressing up as Kaguya.
And having Kaguya escape through like a zip line or something. I don't know. You don't see all of it.
Yeah, you actually don't. You just see her
like,
swinging down from the top of the screen. She enters from the top of the frame. You don't see what she's swinging
lands.
On. I mean, wisely, because if you see what the person is swinging on in an implausible swinging situation, like let's say, I don't know,
a tree going up a wall,
the Promised Neverland, then if you're prone to bouts of fridge logic, then you might get kind of annoyed. But yeah, she escapes the house through some means, and Hayasaka dresses up as her which Shirogane recognizes.
Yeah,
and when he's on his bike, he says, "Oh, so that's the situation."
He reveals that he plays a mental game with himself,
as they do, as Shirogane and Kaguya do.
I did like how Kaguya goes and she's running, she's trying to get to the fireworks, and she gets there, and it's like the wash of light, and everyone's leaving, and the announcement to pick up all your trash is playing, and everyone's moving away. It wasn't just like instant, oh, there's fireworks and all her friends, yay. It was oh. And then yay.
It wouldn't have been much of a story if she had just escaped. And congratulations, by taking matters into your own hands, you get everything you want. Life's not that easy. I don't think Kaguya-sama, the manga, thinks that life is that easy, even though it's mostly ridiculous.
Turns out you need a little help from your friends.
Mm-hmm. If you want to see the fireworks, you need help from your friends, your valet, and one of the 4 Metropolitan Ramen Kings.
That's true. Who happens to moonlight as a taxi driver for some unknown reason. Maybe the ramen business isn't that...
Didn't we get all their biographies or something or was that just in the manga?
I don't know if we got all their biographies. I think we just got shown like pictures of them.
Okay. I don't remember the details of last week's segment, Ramen King segment with Fujiwara. Because he briefly mentions all like the 4 Ramen Kings, like, their names. He might have said the guy was a taxi driver.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, he's part of it. So, and even her little Twitter fixation or her confusion about how Twitter works from the first segment from last week kind of plays into this one, because she tweets, "I want to see the fireworks," which Shirogane sees.
Right.
So that plays into...
How is that a confusion for how Twitter works?
In the previous episode.
I know she's confused about it.
Yeah. So just that segment where she was confused about how Twitter works, and she set up a Twitter account.
Right.
That plays into this episode. The fact that she has that Twitter account.
I thought you meant in this episode she was confused about how it works.
No. There's no time for that. She just has to be in sad mode until Shirogane rescues her and spouts off some super ridiculous lines.
Yeah.
Which he's extremely embarrassed of. Once we get past all the more emotional stuff and we get into their return from summer vacation, he feels like he wants to die because it was so embarrassing, and he's afraid that Kaguya is looking down on him, right, as he always fears.
Well, of course.
My favorite thing about the I can't hear the fireworks thing was the different contexts, the reasons that she couldn't hear them. Because in the first chapter, she speaks a lot about how she's not allowed to go to festivals or fireworks displays or anything like that. So she's always watching from a distance from her room behind a window, and she can't hear the fireworks.
Right.
But in part 2, she's still watching from behind a window. It's the window of the taxi cab. But there's a different reason for her inability to hear. It's because
she can't hear it over how loud her heart is beating.
Right. I think that's really clever. There's like a play on the title, kind of. And despite the fact that the second half of the episode is kind of like, oh, well, we're hitting the reset button, you still get the sense, based on that contrast between part 1 and part 2 of the fireworks chapters, that something has changed in her life. She does value the friendships that she's managed to strike up in the student council enough to step out from under the foot of her father, and to disobey whatever butler was no, you can't leave your room.
It's
Whoever
too
that was.
dangerous.
Yeah, what will people think if you're allowed to go outside?
Yeah. What? You're
Isn't that-
normal?
Yeah, isn't that kind of ironic? Like, wouldn't your family's reputation be damaged more by your...
How come she's never seen in public?
Yeah, like your daughter's general aloofness or just her lack of appearance anywhere?
She's kept in a dungeon under lock and key and is only allowed to go to school. This is feudal Japan.
Oh yeah, it was emotional. It was good, touching, very sad. All the shots of her crying because there were multiple cuts of her just like, with her eyes screwed up, tears leaking out, and her going like,
Yeah.
We're all very sad. Good
I also
looking.
thought that the animation in this episode was several cuts above the other episodes.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of parts where there's like a close up on Kaguya, and especially like there's one part that really stands out to me when she's under the staircase and she's crying and she's like moving her arms across her to like wipe her eyes and stuff. It's really like there's a lot of motion.
Yeah.
In it. It's not just like,
yeah, it's not just 4 drawings, let's say, of her arm or her hand kind of statically moving back and forth across half of her face.
It's like both of her hands just like wiping both sides of her face. It looks really good. I think
that's part of what adds to the emotion of the scene and how like sad and desperate she feels, which is what makes her eventual rescue, her friends finding her and setting this up so she can see the fireworks. It makes it that much more impactful.
Yeah.
Because you feel how sad she is before all of that, that turnabout. Yeah, I don't know about the animation looking better in this episode. I've read some stuff about the last few episodes having to kind of be picked up by other studios. A lot of freelancers being brought in just to get everything done, because this isn't a big name project. I don't think there were any major names attached to it. I really love the director.
Has he done other stuff you like?
Yes, one of my favorite series ever. Showagen Roku Rakugo Shinju. Which is actually like high drama.
High on my own drama?
By that I mean that it's it's highly dramatic, and it's a period piece, and it's for the most part it's very serious. So I think he took those strengths and applied them to these last couple of episodes of Kaguya. So
Yeah.
I like the director. I like the writer as well. He's done some other things I like. He also worked on Rakugo, which was an adaptation, and he's done some other stuff that I'm a fan of. But I'm just glad that this series got a pretty good adaptation.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching it for sure.
Better than Neverland's, I think.
It's not a very high bar.
Well, I guess not, but no matter how high the bar, you can just attach a rope to a tree, even if the tree is 10 yards away, and somehow scale the wall.
Yeah,
you'll clear that bar. Don't worry.
That's
with the power of anime.
I have the power of God and anime on my side.
We sure do. So you do. How did you feel about the second half? Do we have time to talk about that? I want to get this done in an hour if we can.
Yeah, we have time. A little bit.
All right.
I mean, I wasn't as hot on it as the first half, but I still thought it's kind of funny. They just keep walking past each other, and then Fujiwara is like, "Is this a game? Are we making shapes?"
Yeah. I mean, that's classic Kaguya. They do go back to there being sort of a battle between the two characters, and then
Right.
Fujiwara introduces some chaos into the mix, and I mean, it's kind of standard.
The segment where they're all like faces on planes.
Yes, the
talking to
JJ
each
the
other.
jet plane segment. What on earth was that?
Because they were getting shot down, so they turned them into planes.
Right.
And
Yeah, I mean, I understand it in concept. It's funnier actually for me to think about it than it is for me to watch it. Because the whole thing where their faces were on the planes, I was just like,
I thought it was really funny though. After
Oh, really?
one
Okay.
of them got shot down and they're walking away, and there's like smoke trailing off of them, like
Yeah.
they were a crashed plane.
Yep.
I thought that was really clever. I did think it was just weird, but that part where they're walking out with the smoke trailing behind them, I thought that was really clever.
Okay. Well, I'm glad there was some part of the scene that was able to, amuse you or like bring it back for you. I was just like,
WTF is this lol?
yeah, pretty much. Except
trying to
not saying acronyms out loud.
Trying to bring in the Azure Lane crowd.
The what?
Azure Lane. Don't know what that is?
No.
Yeah. Anthropomorphic ship girls.
I thought that was called Kantai Collection.
There's another one called Azure Lane as well.
Oh, damn.
There's several.
I guess they're branching out.
The same idea. They're just trying to bring that crowd in. But now they're just putting the face on the plane instead of it being the plane.
Yeah. I have to show you the thumbnail that I made for my other podcast. I took a wallpaper, a JJ the Jet Plane wallpaper, and I put all the Kaguya characters' faces on it. I mean, it looks hideous. I didn't smooth it out or like integrate it in any way so that their faces fit the planes. But
I just saw a video of like the 10 worst animated TV shows from the 2000s and JJ the Jet Plane on there. And it's a segment of a couple of them talking, and it's nightmare fuel. It is so bad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's just...
Well, at least Kaguya was pretty good, even if JJ the Jet Plane ruined the childhoods of Canadian children everywhere.
3D animation in the 2000s
got a blast!
Did not age well at all.
No, it didn't. All right. So let's say a sequel were to come out, would you watch it?
Absolutely. Okay. I'd be excited to watch it.
All right. Well, that's good. Let's say we move on to Planet Taste.
The Planet of Taste.
That wouldn't be this podcast.
No, not even remotely close to it.
All right, so we got episodes 7 and 8 here of Planet Taste. Cracking a natty ice.
Cracking a cold one with the boy.
Yeah, singular.
With the fish.
The Pokemon.
Yep.
I thought both these episodes were great. How about you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought they were both really good. I don't think there's been an episode I haven't liked so far.
That's right. You like the ninja one.
Yeah, I thought the ninja one was great.
Okay.
It was such an interesting departure from some of the other episodes because there's always something kind of wacky going on in the office because they're all a bunch of crazy characters. But this one had like a.
That's true. There is like an undercurrent of absurdity to Planet Taste, even though I guess it's supposed to balance out the crushing despair that's coming for a lot of the characters.
The thing with the ninja episode though is you had the absurdity of these people who were ninjas, but they pretend to be ninjas, but they're redeemed by they have a serious conversation about we're laid off, we try to get temp work to pay for food and stuff like that, and they kind of they calm down and just talk about themselves, whereas you have some of the zany characters in the office, like the manager and the assistant manager, who have zero redeeming qualities.
Well, that's not true. They all work together in episode 8.
Yes.
He manages to use the arm to bring in the ghost. He does it in the end.
After someone tells him what to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing about Fee, we learn that her character is like
a legend.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Legend 27.
All right, I don't know what that means either.
I barely know what it means.
All right, let's do episode 7 first. It's the aftermath of the ninja episode.
Yeah.
Hachi is stuck in the hospital for a little bit.
Got a broken ankle.
Yeah. Broken foot. His
ankle, foot. I think it was the ankle.
Okay. He's got that gel cast on.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. I love all the little details, all the little futuristic details in this series.
My favorite types of future are the futures from the 90s, the late 90s and the early 2000s, where everything
that's what
still
this is.
Exactly, where everything still kind of had this more boxy motif. Rather than a future series that's done now, everything is ultra sleek and streamlined.
Yeah, but
everything
Star Trek was ultra sleek and streamlined. That aired
I mean,
many decades ago.
The main ship was, but
the Enterprise.
Yeah, Enterprise was, but nothing else was. The Borgs were just cubes.
Yeah, that's because they were robots.
Yeah. efficiency. There's no drag in space. You don't need a streamlined ship. It doesn't make any sense. An airplane,
it doesn't have to do with aerodynamics or anything like that.
You wouldn't engineer a ship to look like that.
You could.
You could, but you'd literally be wasting space.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway,
I love the motif, like all the Gundam designs when we did 08th MS Team, and Cowboy Bebop has a really great space aesthetic. This show has a great space aesthetic. I just like this era of space. Neon Genesis, their future tech. A lot of it is really boxy. The only thing that isn't is the Avas, and that's because they're
Yeah, when you think about
spoilers.
The supercomputer, damn it, what is it called in Evangelion? What's the supercomputer called? There's 3 of them.
Yeah, the council or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. They're the
but
three,
they're like
the
ultra
3 parts
cramped, and there's wires coming out of them everywhere.
Whenever they have to go in there and they do, like, there's parts of her brain in the circuitry, and they stick needles in there. It's Ritsuko's mother, right? And it's the 3 parts of her brain.
Yeah.
Her as a woman, her as a mother, and her
as a scientist.
Yes, that's right.
I think,
man, that's so ridiculous, and yet that episode was so good too.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Evangelion, guess what's happening to it?
Yeah, it's going to be on Netflix. Who cares? I mean, I'm sure millions of people do, but
now here's the question: let's
talk about Planet Days.
The default language be English or Japanese?
I don't know. They're redubbing it. That's what I heard.
Really?
Yeah.
That could be good then.
Let's just talk about Planet Days.
Okay.
So he's in the hospital, and there are 2. For me, the episode 7 was all about like differing perspectives on space, because you have Nono, the 12-year-old Lunarian who was born on the moon.
Yeah.
Her perspective is that she'd like to visit the Earth, but she doesn't consider it her home.
Right, because she doesn't know it.
Yeah, and she also can't live there as of right now. Her body's not strong enough. But she considers the moon her home, but she would like to visit the Earth. Whereas you also have, what's the guy's name? Is it like Harry Rudolph or something? Harry Roland. Yeah. He has been an astronaut for 20 plus years. And
it killed him.
Yes. He got leukemia because of space radiation. And he considers space to be his home. And he doesn't want to leave. He commits suicide.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be forced into retirement, the result of his cancer. So Nono is like, very idealistic, and she sees the moon as like this a beautiful paradise.
Yeah.
That scene at the end where she and Hachi go out onto the lunar surface, and she says, "This is my ocean," and you get it cuts to her at the beach, like splashing water and running out into the waves, and then it cuts back to,
and she's just like throwing dust at him.
Yeah. And then the insert song is playing with like the
whole thing's like a choral arrangement.
Yeah. Well, I think it might just be one woman. She's harmonizing with herself.
Yeah,
like
it's just a
multi-track vocals.
Yeah. I thought that song
was really good.
Was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. It creates an appropriate environment for Hachimaki to have like his epiphany.
Yeah.
To totally relate with her perspective. Like,
but at the same time, after, kind of realizing her perspective, he's like, but this will never be an ocean for me.
Well, he says that before.
Yeah. He says it at the end too. Like,
no,
before the scene ends.
At the end, at the very end of the episode, he makes reference to space as being an ocean of stars. So I think, especially given the fact that so much attention was paid to that scene, you had the contrasting like lunar surface versus beach visuals, and you had the insert song that was supposed to like be kind of meditative and slightly melancholy.
I think airy is the word I would use.
Airy, okay, that's a good word. Although not totally appropriate because
there's no air. Maybe that's why it's even more appropriate.
Ooh,
because it's providing the air.
Maybe
levels.
Yes, it's setting the atmosphere, as it were. Yeah, he says this will never be an ocean for me. So it's true. Like, he has a different perspective on space. He wants to go back to the Earth. And we open the episode with him explaining that people aren't meant to be in space, that Earth is still humanity's home.
Yeah.
And he doesn't think he could be out here for for 12 years like she's been, or dedicate his life to space the way that Roland did.
Yeah.
So like being so invested in it that he just wants to become a part of it in death. So he's kind of caught between their perspectives, I think. And then you have Fee as well. I really like that scene between them in the smoking room.
Yeah.
Whatever room it was. I don't know if that was
it is a smoking room. Yeah. Basically, it just has a bunch of ventilators to pull all the smoke out, and they probably just vent to the atmosphere, but
yeah,
it's to keep the space station, clean.
Right. And she also has that little smoking module in the office.
Yeah.
The half section,
which probably
office.
Isn't actually a smoking module. It's probably something she rigged up.
Perhaps.
Because it doesn't look like every other smoking room she walks into. It's completely different. So she just like built one herself.
Maybe. She is a legend after all.
They've got to be pretty smart people. They're astronauts. They got to be able to cobble stuff together.
No, I don't think so. The whole astronauts are just salarymen thing. I don't think. I mean, think about Tanabe. She was like the bottom of her class. That's why she got pushed into the debris section. So there might be some like actual idiots and bums. Obviously the boss is one.
Is a bumbling moron.
Yeah.
I saw it. I did something good. Fee picks up the radio. Chief, stop. Yeah. Stay where you are. Get back on the controls now.
I like that scene with Fee because he like after Roland's death, Hachimaki starts talking about God and what if he's taking revenge on us, or if he's just trying to give us a message like go back to Earth, because that's still the mindset that he's in. Humanity's not supposed to be out here,
right?
And I'm sure that seeing Roland,
kill himself
in that fashion. Yeah, he didn't like adequately prepare for the trip out onto the the lunar surface in his spaceship. And one of them makes a comment, how could a veteran make such a rookie mistake? I mean, it's obvious what happened.
But Hachimaki, he says, could it be suicide? Like, there's no way he would have made this mistake. He did this on purpose.
Right. But Fee like literally slaps him or punches him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's more appropriate for her character, I think.
Yeah.
Because she's like really no nonsense. I can't remember exactly what it is she says to him.
Did you write it down?
I probably did.
You do have an aggressive amount of notes.
Yeah, well, this is a sort of series where you can take a lot of notes, I feel. Oh yeah, the Earth can't survive without space resources anymore. That's, like economic development, I guess, has progressed to that point. So they don't have a choice.
And we don't have a context to that. We hear people say it, but we don't know why.
Well, I mean,
we don't know what's been invented.
No, we don't. But I mean, you can just take a step back and like broadly assume that with new developments in technology and access to new materials that are found in space, that things are being built now, things are being traded and sold now.
There's mining going on the moon, or they called it like Lumite or something like that.
Oh yes. Both of Nono's parents are miners.
That's and right. Scientists as well.
Yeah, not miners with an O.
No, miners, which are.
She's a miner,
right?
Her parents are miners, but she's a miner,
right?
Although that doesn't stop Tanabe from getting a little jealous.
That's true.
She's so tall. She has the squeaky voice, but she's...
Yeah, the whole time I'm hearing her voice, I'm like, all right, she's like 10 or something. Yeah. I was like, and then she said 12 years. I was like, oh, she's 12. Like...
Yeah. They play...
Tanabe's got a little crush on Himaki there, yeah?
Yeah, but I really like the way the show's going about it, It's not as though they're having dumb misunderstandings come between them and like just... being almost about to confess their feelings, but then somebody makes a loud noise in the corner of the room, and they turn away blushing, like, oh, that was close. I almost revealed my true emotions. They're just kind of bickering the way that coworkers do, and they happen to be man and woman. So sometimes attractions just form between people who are working in proximity. If they have like compatible personalities or perhaps opposite personalities. Or just for whatever reason, people like we're wired to want to mate. mate with each other, and
you and me, baby, we ain't nothing but mammals.
That's true.
That's a song.
Very Planetace thing to say, to take that sort of view of it.
I really liked the scene where she comes in and has to drop off the ID, and he's playing cards.
Yeah, I mean, he and Nono are having such a great time.
And I really like the shot where she walks out of the room and she kind of just stops for a second. You just see her feet, and then keeps going rather than showing her face, and she's like making a bad face and just telegraphing like, I am sad. Yeah. It's just like you can tell just by the way that she walks,
just by how she hesitates.
Yeah, just by the hesitation. I thought that was fantastic.
That was it kind of reminded me of. Well, I mean, I'm sure that sort of direction is employed by hundreds and thousands of filmmakers and animators and such. But that kind of reminded me of like something that Anna would do. Get a little bit psychological and into a character's head without necessarily showing you an anguished look on their face. Although Ava does plenty of that, at points.
And the show kind of takes away from it when they're in like they're in the Apollo exhibit, and she sees the couple's like, "Hey, can you take a picture of us?" And it just does a flash of
Hachimaki and Nono.
Hachi and Nono.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, you didn't need to do that. We already understood. I was like,
yeah,
we already got it. I don't need you to just be like, she's not okay with this. Like you don't have to tell me. I already know.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even without that flash, people who are like really paying attention to the episode and kind of breaking it down and analyzing it as it's going on would be able to kind of put that together. That she's being called on to do a service for a couple, two people who are together, right after she's finished, like kind of thinking of Hachimaki and Nono as a couple. Right. That would be something you would need to kind of closely read the episode to get. And that little flash of her perception of them, is a bit of a crutch, a bit of a cheat, And that didn't bother me, but.
I mean, it didn't bother me, but it's just like you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I guess
it's just like
true.
You'd already set it up, really artfully, and then you just go and sledgehammer it for the people who didn't understand.
I suppose. But that scene had another purpose, which was to clue her friend in, like the flight attendant type girl.
Yeah.
Who's in a relationship or kind of in a relationship with Cheng Xin.
The captain, yeah.
Right. It clues her into the fact that she's like, something's off with her. Because she mentions to Cheng Xin on one of their dates, I can only think of one reason for a woman to visit a man in the hospital
that often. Yeah.
I kind of think that Cheng Xin is into Tanabe because he keeps asking about her whenever he and Hachimaki are hanging out. I mean, maybe he's just trying to like push his friend towards an available woman. So he wants Hachimaki to have a little bit of happiness or something like that. But he does keep asking about her, like pointing out her virtues.
It's possible that he knows it annoys his friend, so he's doing it on purpose just to annoy his friend.
Maybe.
I do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, but he also seems to be, like his characterization seems to be, Cheng Xin's what a great guy.
What a playa.
No, he's just good looking, so women want to be with him. But he seems to be like,
yes, I really am this amazing.
He doesn't seem to be that sort of like pompous or self-centered person.
Yeah.
I thought this episode was pretty good.
I did too.
I do like that when Planetace gets kind of like overtly thematic and philosophical, it does manage to keep these other threads going of the characters' relationships to one another, like the whole Hachimaki Tanabe thing, how Nono impacts that, while at the same time also providing a different look at the way that people in this future think about space. And she especially is like in a unique position because there are only 4 Lunarians, I think she says.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to learn how she's being studied and how scientists are like, even now, scientists are trying to make progress, even though we've made this unbelievable amount of progress and astronauts are just wage slaves. Like we've come that far and still, we're struggling against cancer. We're trying to beat other diseases. We're trying to figure out the things we don't know. It paints a vision of humanity's future as one where we've taken these gigantic leaps and bounds, but we're really still solving the same problems over and over.
What's really crazy is based on like their vision or their version and vision of cancer in what's essentially the year 2075. I think we're closer to curing it now than they were then.
How's that?
I just mean like we're actually getting close to figuring it out.
Are we?
Yes.
I don't really follow cancer like news and research.
I mean, I don't like expressly follow it. I don't have like an RSS feed or something of it, but there's, we do experimental treatments and trials and stuff constantly, and new techniques are being developed, every month or two. And we're able to take, later and later stage cancer, and the survival rates are constantly rising. I think we're only 10, 20 years before it's just not even a factor anymore.
Really? That's pretty cool.
I mean, we're pretty close to being able to edit babies' genes before they're born. Like,
yeah, that's kind of freaky.
If we can do that, I'm pretty sure we can cure cancer.
Well, I don't know. We haven't identified a cancer gene, have we?
No, because it's not genetic, it's a mutation.
Right, but it's a genetic mutation.
Yes, just like me.
Yeah, I guess. For those of you who don't know what that was supposed to mean, Grenchler had, you can explain it, I guess.
I have
a heart defect.
5 congenital heart defects, which are mutations because they are not of the norm.
Right.
So, but it's possible, but we can identify them before they're born and literally just be like, all right, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're good.
When are we going to get an anime episode about you? Like some cute girl is the protagonist of some series set in the future, and you're like hanging out in the hospital. I guess. Well, I mean, you were in the hospital for this stuff when you were a baby, so that might not work out.
And when I was, 12 and 16.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, anyways,
episode 8.
Episode 8, yeah.
How about it?
Episode 8 dealt.
Wow, look at those sick notes.
A little bit. Shut up. I don't need to write all that stuff down to know what I want to say or know how to respond to a question.
Well, I mean, my memory is piss poor.
I mean, so my memory is bad for things that matter, and anime doesn't, so I remember it pretty well.
I can't even remember. I mean, anime is one of the main things that I do, apart from work, eat, and sleep, is watch anime.
Eat, sleep, poop, anime.
Yeah. Actually, anime makes me constipated, so I don't have to poop anymore.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, episode 8.
Yeah. So this
Fee's a legend.
Yep, Fee's a legend. Apparently nobody knew that. They're complaining.
Well, Dolph did.
Well, everyone else on her crew does as well. Tanabe just doesn't.
Well, I wonder whether
and then Hachi is just
Lobby and the purple-haired guy and what's his face? I don't even know the section head's name. The blonde fat dude.
They introduce him once, but he's not in the credits or anything, and you don't hear his name.
He is in the credits, but he's not one of the 4. He's not one of the 4 named characters in the credits.
Yeah, they call him Chief every time they speak to him.
Okay.
So it's not like you're constantly being reminded of his name.
Right. I wonder if the two of them know that Fee is so awesome. Because they didn't recognize the connection between her and
Dolph.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone on their team knew that connection.
I guess because Hachimaki also assumed that an affair might be going on potentially, and then he earned a slap for that or whatever.
No. That was the assistant manager who was like using his quote unquote connections around to find out if she was having an affair.
Yeah.
He gets kicked in the stomach and flies across the room.
Well, it's that low gravity, man.
Yeah, you would have microgravity in a station. You'd have some, but it's not like Earth gravity.
I think maybe Earth gravity is supposed to be simulated in their work environments. Maybe there's a little bit less, but it's really in the hallways and in the
it's work environment's definitely simulated. We talked about the rotation creating that.
Yeah. Indeed. So Dolph offers her a promotion, which she declines. Now, I was a little bit confused when watching this episode. The order of events kind of threw me. because right before the cut to the eye catch, there's a scene where that bureaucrat dude is talking about how Dolph has to bring in somebody else to fill the position, and Fee is like angered by this and kicks a desk and like mutters to herself, "Dolph, if you were unsatisfied, why don't you just speak up? Why don't you say something?" So I wonder, because she was the one who turned it down.
I think that section head like kind of looked at her funny, and I'm pretty sure he was saying that out loud on purpose to get a reaction from her.
Right. So my question then is, does she give him what he wants by reacting, even though she's already turned the offer down?
Even if she doesn't want the offer, she doesn't want to be considered the second choice.
But then why would she say to herself, "Dolph, why don't you just speak up if you're dissatisfied?"
Because she's essentially hearing this first party information, because she has a connection to Dolph, from a third party.
No.
So and Dolph didn't give that information to her.
Why would she even care though? Because if she's the one who turns the promotion down, why does it matter to her who fills the? Why would she think to herself, if you were dissatisfied, why don't you say something? He's not dissatisfied. She's the one who doesn't go along with his plan.
Right. But I guess it kind of goes into like a pride sort of thing, where even if you don't want the job, it's still nice to be like, "Oh, I was your first pick."
And was the first pick.
But
she knows that.
That's not the way that the other guy phrased it. So
okay.
she thought to herself, she was just like, "Why did you ask me second?" It's like, if you were dissatisfied.
Is that what she thought?
If you were dissatisfied,
but the conversation.
Why didn't you say something when you were talking to me?
The conversation between the two of them at the start doesn't it's not implied that she was the second choice. You know, the order of the theory that I had to come up with in my head was that when she kicked the desk and said that, she was like acting for that bureaucrat suit dude's benefit, because he wanted her to be upset. He wanted like the debris section people to be put in their place. And so she, having already turned down the job and not caring that it was going to some retired idiot who they have to bring back on to the
it's
spaceship.
A bureaucrat from
it's a retired INTO member. I just thought she was acting for that one dude's benefit.
I'd probably have to go back and rewatch it.
Honestly, I feel like there was something maybe lost in translation there.
Maybe.
Because
it's hard to know.
It just lost me for a second.
It's hard to know because neither of us speak Japanese.
Right. Yeah.
I have a friend who does, though, so I can ask him.
Nice.
He's been living in Japan for like 3 years.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go to Japan. Until very recently, I thought, like, I don't really care. And I still don't, like, I'm not interested in going for any anime-related reasons or to take in any scenery or learn about any history. But I think it might be nice to take a trip. And if I'm going to take a trip, I mean, Japan, why not go to Japan? It's supposed to be very, really beautiful. They have a lot of very strong culture. I mean, that's kind of a ridiculous way of saying it.
If you go to America, there's no strong culture.
Well, that's definitely not true. The thing that's amazing about America, culturally speaking, is that all the different parts of the country have their own unique cultures. And I suppose that Japan, in a way, is similar. All their, Tokyo is very metropolitan, but then you also have like really rural areas, which are supposed to be like, really striking, where you've got things like temples that you can go visit. And
But Japan as a nation has a more unified culture than America as a nation does.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably true.
Much more, I'd say. Yeah. But I'd love to go to Japan too. I think it'd be great.
I just think it would be cool to take a trip, and why not go to Japan just to experience it, because it's supposed to be like a cool place to go. They like great food.
Everyone who I've
really pretty scenery.
It's a small tangent, I guess, but everyone's just like, "Oh man, you should take a trip. You should go to Europe. You should go somewhere." And I'm like, I haven't even been to all 50 states yet. Like,
why would you want to go to all 50 states?
Well, 2 of those are Hawaii and Alaska.
Why would you want to go to Alaska?
Anchorage is supposed to be a really beautiful city. supposed to be some of the best fish you can eat in the world.
Yeah. And really cold.
And Hawaii is amazing. It's a volcanic island. Like everyone wants to go to Hawaii.
I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really like the beach.
Well, there's more than that to do. There's like the jungle and
But isn't it like
volcanoes.
sweltering?
Yes.
I don't know. I would just want to go to some place where the weather is manageable.
Isn't it like crazy hot in Japan?
I don't know, dude. Let's get back on track.
Anyways, yeah.
I don't think we're going to get in under an hour for this episode, but that's all right.
That's okay.
One thing that I want to mention is that the ghost, the little bit of debris that changes changes state.
It expands when it's hit by sunlight.
Well, it almost changes state. Like it goes from a solid to a liquid, sort of.
Well,
like semi-liquid.
It goes from a solid to a less dense solid.
Yeah, pretty much like a semi-solid.
Because Tanabe like survives inside of it.
Yeah,
she's not
breathing. She's in a spacesuit. She's going to be able to survive.
It's not like liquid and then rock.
Right. Yeah. If it actually changed state and became a solid again,
she would just die.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know how that would work.
It seems like it's like some sort of like membrane that is holding a specific like fluid or something, and when it hits the sun, it expands and goes all wobbly.
Right.
And then without the sun, it like contracts a little bit, but it's still habitable for those suits.
Yeah. I like that particular type of debris, that ghost is perfect for this episode because it's an episode where Fee has to demonstrate her competence. And it's really difficult to catch. No one else has been able to catch it. Its very nature is like elusive and intangible. So only somebody with a lot of experience and with some brains would be able to get everybody organized, so that they could bring it in, which they do as a result of her leadership. So it's like in terms of conceptualizing and scripting the episode, I know it was based on a manga chapter, but just conceptualizing the story, I think it really works because we need to learn how awesome Fee is, which we do.
Good thing they have an old ship.
Yep. Yeah, a really big and bulky one. Yeah, because it can block
the running
out the sun.
gag in this show.
Of what?
Hachi rounds a corner and holds onto a handle and just breaks off and flies away. That happens every time they're in a ship.
Yeah, but it was particularly good in this one because something about what he was saying made it like heighten the irony of the bar flying off.
Yeah, because he was
criticizing something.
He was criticizing the section. The assistant manager was just like, you have to respect the chain of command. Go and retrieve the object. And he's like, I know what I'm doing, and it breaks off.
Is that what he said?
As he rounds the corner, something like that, or it's like, don't waste time or something. I don't remember, but yeah, I
wish I had taken down a note of what he had said because it struck me as really funny that he said something in response to what Lobby said, and then the bar flies off.
Yeah. Because he flew off the handle.
Oh, wow. That's next level right there. I don't know if fly off the handle is a euphemism in Japanese, though.
I don't know. It isn't here, though.
And Dolph pops up. We've already talked about him a little bit. He's integral to this episode. I like that they keep using him as a way to remind us of the politics and the bureaucracy and the whole business side of Technora and of the series as a whole.
Right.
Dolph is like, he's trying to climb the ladder so that he can make Technora better, which I'm sure he wants because his company that he founded with Fee and several others
was absorbed
got swallowed up by Technora. So I'm sure
which he didn't want to happen.
No, but what they were offering, like the amount of money they were offering was too great. I guess the deal that they were getting was too good. And Fee has a family, so I imagine that it was difficult for her to turn this promotion down, especially since we get that shot of her in her sleeping quarters, and there's like pictures,
there's like notes and like drawings, and stuff from her kid all over the place.
Yeah.
So if
she's sending money back home, then I'm sure it was actually more difficult than we're, given permission to see,
right?
For her to say no.
So she's like probably in her 30s or something then.
Yeah, I guess.
We've got to assume that she's, we've got the two younglings.
Yeah.
And then the temp worker who's like a side stripper or something.
Yeah. Well, she was probably just going out to, I don't know, some sort of party or something like that. But it's true. She takes off her whatever uniform she usually wears,
Her,
like a blue button up sort of thing.
And just like whips it off with one hand, and it's just like corset and a mini skirt. And it's just like, all right, see you fools later. Later, nerds.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine that she might get a spotlight episode in the future. Same with the chief and the assistant chief.
Yeah, because this is 26 episodes. This is a full 2 core, so there's enough time for them to actually be able to explore each character, which I think would be interesting.
Yeah. So episode 7 more thematic, I think, more thematically driven, and this one perhaps more character driven. But each, continues to move the story along as we go forward. So it doesn't feel like any episode of Planet Ace is just a meditation on one or two particular topics at the expense of its characters.
No, because they all involve the characters, and they involve them in a way that isn't. I can't think of a good word for
bad?
it. No, not just bad, but a way that just
Planet Ace. It's not bad.
It's a good tagline. But no, the show involves the characters in these ways without making it seem like I want to say something, but I need to make this show happen. So here's a character. It's this stuff that they want to make a comment on, how we view the world or view society or corporations or whatever, in a way that's happening to the characters that seems normal. It seems like this is something that would normally happen to them.
Yeah, I think that
if you really you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the reason that Planet Ace is able to pull this off, I mean, its characters are kind of charming and recognizable, since they're, especially given the backdrop against which they're set, they're
visually distinct.
What I mean to say is that they're working stiffs. You can recognize them as the sort of people who would work in an office where you as a viewer might work. But I feel like Planet Ace it doesn't encourage the audience to participate in what's going on. You're just allowed to sit back and watch things play out. And the strength of the characters is what enables that, I think. I made a comment, I think, about episode 5 last week, that it felt a little bit like a miniature play. I don't mean that as a criticism, because a lot of theater is kind of
good.
It's overly theatrical and it's kind of stilted. The performances are very big. But I do think Planet Ace has a certain quality where you're not supposed to be like, riding a wave of hype as the series is going on. Rather, what's happening is definitely on the other side of a TV screen, but it's so engrossing that you're following it anyway. It's not the sort of series where you're supposed to be right there in the middle of it, feeling like, oh, these are all my friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Difficult feeling to achieve, I think, because most series will try to pull you in as close as possible to the action or the drama or the romance or the comedy or what have you.
Cliffhanger. Will this door open next episode?
Yeah, something like that. You're just supposed to be, the phrase sucked in. I was so sucked in as I was watching.
Yeah.
Planet Ace does not suck you in. It's a little bit headier than that. So
But it does command your attention.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it makes you sit up and pay attention to what's happening, but it doesn't. Well, that's the thing. Series that want to suck you in, they actually kind of lose your attention in the process a little bit. You
zone out a bit.
Yeah, kind of. You're surrendering like perhaps a higher brain function that you might be. I mean, that sounds really pretentious, but you're not involving a higher level of thinking.
Lesser shows just give off this wave
I think
baser instinct.
I think people who have seen the series probably are able to identify what it is I'm talking about, even if I'm not using the right language.
No, I understand what you mean, and
it's just like a really good show. rather than being the new like water cooler, whatever that everyone's supposed to be really into, and you're supposed to be giving a part of your life over to this media property.
Did you see the new episode of Game of Thrones?
Get the Game of Thrones cast coming up. No, we don't. But
that's
it is
this month, though.
It is coming out soon.
Yeah, 12 days.
I'm gonna watch it, but I almost like don't care, just because of season 7's general. I don't know.
I mean, we've reached we've reached basically the fight scene season, because
just the zombie season.
Yeah, well, there was a note from like one of the directors or producers or something. It's just like, we've filmed the longest battle scene in history. Like, even
bigger than the Lord of the Rings films?
Yes.
Damn.
Bigger and longer than that.
I have to imagine that if it is the longest battle scene ever, then it's probably just, the White Walkers versus the whatever. What are people called who live in Westeros? What are they?
Westerians?
I think they're called Westerosi, maybe, or
I don't know.
I can't remember. Dude, I've forgotten so much of what's happened in that series, and I don't have any desire to like relearn it.
Binge watch seasons 1 through 7. No,
thanks.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm just going to keep watching anime.
I'll keep watching
like a true patrician.
Superior Japanese television.
Nipponese cartoons. And we're done for this week.
We are.
Any closing thoughts or anything like that?
Closing thoughts.
Everybody have a great week.
We were watching some good shows. We'll be back next week with something different.
I guess this is the end of the season, huh?
Yeah.
But we only ended up seeing 2 series to completion.
Yes.
So
that's true.
I don't really feel like talking about all the other stuff that I watched this season. It doesn't matter. Just watch whatever you want and listen to this podcast if you feel like it.
That's a good summary.
Fuck you.
It's a good rules for life.
All right, we'll be back. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about the Ghost in the Shell film next week.
Yep,
that's the plan at least, because we need to take a week off before we do like the spring 2019 impressions. So we had an off week, so we're gonna talk about Ghost in the Shell and maybe a couple episodes of Planet Ace. Depending on how in depth we go covering the Ghost in the Shell film.
when we did End of Ava, that was an hour.
It was an hour and a half, wasn't it?
It was really long. Yeah,
that's true. But that also functioned as like the capstone to our entire 26 episode Evangelion discussion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Ghost in the Shell. Also, Ghost in the Shell is not that long a film. It's not like completely feature length, at least as far as I remember, because I have seen it once before. But we'll get into that again. We'll get into that next week.
Okay. Cool. We'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.